welcome to the podcast. Today we are having Tanay with us. He returned back from USA to India. Now we gonna know his life journey, like how he used to stay in US and now what happened in India. So hi Tanay, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good, sir. So I want to know, when you decided, like you are coming back to India, what was that moment that you knew that you are leaving USA and coming back to India?
So our story was I had gone to the US for studies, and during that time, I met a woman who is now my wife. She is from the US, and after my studies, we were thinking if we should continue living in the US or if we should come to India. So, of course, she had never been to India, and I was from India, so I knew how life was over there. So I talked to her about that. I also ended up having a job that was in India. So we discussed the pros and cons, if we should continue living in the US or if we should move to India. So after weighing everything together, we realized that moving to India for the foreseeable future was the better option. So we ended up doing that.
May I know in which year you moved back to India?
So we moved to India in 2022.
Okay. So when you were planning, it was a COVID time, maybe.
Yeah, so we were talking about it before COVID, but we ended up doing it during COVID. So we started talking about it in 2019, 2020, before COVID, and then we ended up moving in 2022.
Okay. So COVID plays any role in like returning to India? Any decision after COVID?
So COVID was a confusing moment, really, because I did not know if my job will still be available when I come to India. But since we'd already discussed, the benefits of moving to India versus continuing where we were, so we were like, maybe we should just go ahead and we'll see how it unfolds. So COVID
Okay.
was a lot of uncertainty. We had no idea if work would still be available.
Okay. So after living in USA for 2 years, so after coming back to India, like, is there, may I know your biggest emotional and financial challenges you have faced after returning back to India?
So so I was in the US for about 2 years. Then I came back to India, and then I went back again for one more year while my wife was living there. So I was accustomed to both countries, India and the US. But the largest challenge was, you know, having my wife come to India and having all the documentation and paperwork done for her. That was the biggest challenge, and it was a very emotional journey for her. So helping her through it was also very important. But since I was used to both places, I was able to help everybody through it.
Okay. So you were living in USA and you were settled there with your house and your furnitures and all. So how you manage that? Like, how you manage that furniture parts and all, like your car?
So when we decided for sure that we are going to come to India, we first thought that we should keep the house and rent it out. But then it was difficult to manage from other side of the world, 12 hours difference. So at the end, we decided to sell the house, sell the car, sell all the furniture. A lot of the furniture we gave away to our close friends. The larger items we ended up selling off, and but in the end, we left the house empty, and the next buyer got it. We moved to India with our cats and two suitcases of some clothes. That's it.
With the curiosity, I want to ask, like, how was the transition? Like, you were selling your house and all, like, how it happened? It was smooth or
I mean, the process was very smooth, but it was
okay?
emotional because it was our first house together. It was our, first car. You know, uh, so all those things were firsts in our lives. So it was very emotional letting it go, and also the journey of somebody who's not sure, who's never been to India, helping her come to India. All those things were very emotionally challenging. Otherwise, the process was very straightforward. We had a real estate agent who helped us do the sale, sold the car to a company. Everything over there was very smooth with that.
As you said, it was very emotional. So, have you remember your last week in the US, how it was there, and is there any belongings from that week you are having till now?
Not much except clothes, like I told you, and our two cats. But the last week was every day. It was a fully furnished house, and every day it would start having less and less things in it. And to the day we left, we only it was just us and our bags. The whole house was empty. So yeah, that is how it turned out. Every day we were giving away stuff, getting rid of things, the car, the furniture, and everything. And the house was already agreed for a sale, so we knew we had to leave on a certain day because the next buyer was going to move in. So that is how it ended up being.
Okay. So you were having a good life there. So is there any regret after leaving to after leaving USA, like physically anything or emotionally?
I mean, emotionally, it was challenging, but I would not say there are any regrets because, of course, we don't know how life would have been if we had continued over there. But every time we have this discussion with, like, maybe if we should have continued there or come to India, we end up going to the same conclusion that we are very happy where we are. It was a good decision to come to India. There's a lot of benefits here. We are happy here. So that is what matters at the end of the day. Of course, we will never know how life would have been had we not moved here.
So I want to ask, like you are having many things there. So how you manage your financial part there? Like have you followed any checklist or anything like that?
So, of course, we had a certain amount in mind, a certain liquid amount in mind that we should keep in case of any last minute emergencies, some contingencies, and things like that. So, otherwise, there was no as such checklist. It was mostly financially, there was no checklist, but for her to have all of her immigration documents sorted out and our pets, pet passports and vaccinations sorted out, those were the more important things. For that, we did have a checklist that all the vaccinations are up to date. Her visa is valid. Her passport is valid for the next 6 months. Her card, the credit card, can be used in India. Funds can be transferred to India. So we had done the process to see, how fast money can be transferred to India and all those things if we need it. So those are the things mostly we followed before we moved.
As you're talking about your cat's passport and all. So can you
Mhm.
please let me know that process if it's possible? That will help you out many NRIs.
Yeah. So basically, there are a few requirements to export an animal from one country and import it to another country. So the importing country will set out a list of guidelines what they need to be done before the animal is brought into this country, and those documents are signed by the exporter of the country from which the animal is coming. So in our case, we had to put microchips in our cats. Basically, that is a chip that is put in them to help with identification that this animal is what it is. The name and the chip number will be identified if a scanner is put near them. And the vaccinations needed to be valid, done by a prescribed veterinarian in the US, approved by the USDA. Once those things were done, they were emailed to the veterinary office in Delhi, where we were supposed to land. And once we received approval from them, then we boarded the flight because if that was not done, even after landing in India, they would not be allowed to enter India.
Okay.
So once they had accepted that, then we landed into India with them. Then we went to the office in person. So they physically scanned the both the cats to verify that these are the actual animals that we were doing the documentation for. And then they stamped the papers, and then that's it. So they have a little booklet that has all the vaccinations in them, and that is used for a reference with the chip number and everything.
So you have stayed in US and India, both the places. Now, is there any like big financial mindset difference between US and India? What do you think about this?
Yeah, big difference. In India, it's very community oriented, very family oriented. That's how I grew up. That's how the community is here. How we say it takes a village to raise a child. It's very involved here. All the family members, neighbors, friends, everybody's involved. In the US, it's far independent. It's very, you are on your own after 18, you do your own thing. The level of independence is very high over there. Here, it's very close knit and tied together. Like the importance of one-to-one conversation with the family is very much more prevalent in India than it is over there.
Okay. So how did it feel stepping back into your Indian life after spending 2 years in US?
It was a difficult transition, mostly because I was not alone. Now I had a family that I had to, bring in and make them comfortable here. Because at the end of the day, I am the anchor in India, and if they are not comfortable, then I'm not comfortable. So while I was used to, growing up in India, the 3 years that I did spend in the US was during the time when I was just out of school. I was also growing up So the mentality also changes. You become more responsible. So you start looking at more important things. Your perspective changes and things like that. So I would say that just making them more comfortable while growing up through this was the most challenging part of it.
Okay. When you were returning to India, is there any overwhelming part or any funny moment have you remember about?
Overwhelming. It was like we were on the flight, with our two little suitcases and two cats. We were constantly wondering if we made the right decision because this was during COVID. We had taken a step that we thought everybody would say, in the US, it's a developed country. You have so many privileges there. We were constantly in the state of, uncertainty that did we do the right thing? And we never knew that till a few months in after moving to India. We settled down, became comfortable with the environment. Till then, we were always not sure if we did the right thing. So I remember when we were on the flight, we were like, I hope we're doing the right thing because, we've left everything behind. So it turned out to be fine.
Okay. So moving forward, did people question your decision why you are leaving US and going back to India, and how you respond
Everybody,
that? Oh,
everybody, I think everybody, except my family and my wife, I think everybody who was not sure about this kept saying, like I told you, why do you want to move to India? Like you have a good life in the US, you can just live here. It's a developed country, make money in dollars and everything else. But when we weighed everything together, this is a very independent decision. It might work for somebody, it might not work for somebody. For us, it seemed like the right thing to do, which now we realize it was. So, I would say that you can listen to people, but then do what is right for you at the end of the day.
personally, I want to ask if it's possible, how your family reacts when you said you are coming back to India with
So
your
my family
family.
was very happy. Yeah, my
Okay.
family was very happy that I was coming back to India, of course, because that's how we grow. Family like to stay together. But my wife's family was a bit concerned because they had never been to India. They were skeptical about how it will be for her when she goes there. But after them coming to India themselves, they feel a lot more comfortable seeing how their daughter is happy, safe, secure, sound in India. So it
Okay.
was mostly concerns from people who had never been to India to begin with.
Do you miss your US circle now as well, or have you found your new batches or friends here?
I mean, we make friends everywhere we go. Of
Okay.
course, we miss the friends over there. We have family over there. We miss that. Miss the few aspects of life that we had over there. So, but you can't have everything together. So we will always try to visit there every few years and meet everybody, stay in touch. Um, but that's how it is. You have to leave something behind to get somewhere else.
Okay. Return to India affect your career.
Uh, I don't think so. I think it helped my career. So I'm a pilot, so I ended up flying for an airline over here. I don't know how life would have been there if I had stayed there. I don't know if any airline would have hired me. I don't know that. But here I was lucky enough to immediately begin my career at an airline. So that turned out to be very helpful.
Okay. No, many NRIs wants to come back to India, but they have many misconceptions. What's the biggest misconceptions you think that NRIs having while returning back to India?
According to me, the largest misconception that they have is the people choose to make the decision based on the bias that they have about India from when they remember it to be. So I would suggest before making this big leap, come and see what it is right now, wherever it is that you want to be. And if it has changed for the better or the worse, take that into consideration and then take the decision rather than doing it based off something you remember from way back when.
When people ask why did you leave your American dream, how you respond that?
I wouldn't call it was an American dream for us. I would say, at the end of the day, it was something that we both wanted. It was our dream. So personally, whatever suited us better, which, like I said, when we did the pros and cons, it suited us to move to India better. So it was our dream. So we ended up doing that. And it ended up being good for us. So we're happy. Yeah, that's it.
Like many of the NRIs wants to come back to India. So I want to know, can you please let them know, or you can share your best three things that can help them to come back to India.
So, like I said, the first thing was the previous statement. I would say that come back, visit once, wherever it is that you want to go, see how things are, become better, become worse. whatever your needs are, do you think they are being fulfilled over here better or the worse? So that would be the first thing. Come back, test the waters. The second would be see if it's helping your family rather than just yourself individually. Like it should be, if it's a family, it should be a mutual decision rather than one person just forcing it. And third, always have your finances in check because moving countries is a big leap. Sometimes you may not have a job immediately. Sometimes you may not, some random expenses might come up. You might have to go back and forth several times. So these things involve a sudden requirement for money. So always keep some liquid available when you're doing this big leap.
As you said, your wife is American. So is there any
Yeah.
problem while for her transition from US to India?
I mean, there are a few challenges. Yes, of course, the first few months are very difficult because, the systems that we have here seem very familiar to us, like, crossing the street, talking in the local language, and so on and so forth. Reading between the lines is just a cultural thing. And they have the same thing over there. So for her to understand those things was more challenging. And over time, she learned from her surroundings. Now she can, read Hindi. She's able to drive. She's able to cross the road, and so on and so forth. So once you understand and get into the groove of things, things become easier.
Okay, now she is okay here in India.
Yeah. Now she's okay. Now she's happy.
Okay. Thank you for your time, sir. It was a nice podcast with you. It will help many of the NRIs who are coming back to India, who wants to come back to India. It will help them out. Thank you for your time, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.